Hello, hello, hello. This is Truth Be Told. This is Dr. Walter Aka.
Hey, this is Dr. Leroy Horton.
And we have a very special guest, Dr.
Indeed.
Tamaara Morris. She's a good friend of mine. She is probably somebody that I'm going to say probably the most honest person I know in dentistry. She could care less, good or bad. She's going to tell you how she feels, right? Good or bad. And
Good or
and
bad.
that I 100% appreciate, because in the end, I think we Dr. Horton and I have said this multiple times. We want people to be honest. We want people to come on here and completely be honest and let us know what dentistry really looks like. And Dr. Morris actually did something that I don't know a lot of people that would do this. I'll be honest. She spent her time being a specialist. She became a specialist, a periodontist, and then says, let's go back to being a general dentist. And I said to her, I remember when you told me this, I thought you were crazy. I was like, how could you go and do perio, do all this time? And then you're like, nope, I like restorations. I like endo. I like this. And I was like, what are you talking about? Focus. So you're going to go ahead and explain everything to us.
Well, listen, before we do that, let me give a little preamble because
Yeah.
Dr. Morris is so honest that you guys missed it because we weren't recording. But she comes on and she says, have I been on this show before? Completely,
Yes.
me and you all are so forgettable.
Oh,
So
that is true.
forgettable
That
I
is
want to
true.
know when,
this was like, it
because I think it's been
was
twice.
like 3 months ago, 4 months ago.
No, it wasn't that early ago,
No,
was it?
no,
Because I feel like time is
years, maybe
flying.
21. Was it 2021?
Okay, I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I'll have to go back and
I
look.
don't know.
The
But
point isn't that. The point is basically now we're starting all over, right? We're starting
Mhm.
fresh. We're trying to get people to, peel back the curtains of dentistry and basically
Mhm.
show us what dentistry really looks like, right? We're
Right.
not TikTokers, we're not Instagrammers. Maybe Dr. Horton is, but I'm not. You know, so what
No.
you get with me is what you get, and you know, what I mean, in the end, we want to basically make sure that people know what dentistry looks like. So Dr. Morris, I know I didn't do a great service to you, but please give us your background. Tell us where you came from, your story, and then we'll kind of ask you questions and we'll have a fireside chat with some drinks, you know,
Okay.
with some drinks. So let us know.
Always say where you want me to start.
Start from all right, start from basically so you decided to go to dental school. We all did that, right? And
Okay.
then you went through
Yeah.
dental school, graduated dental school.
Yes.
From there, start there. Where
From
did
there,
you
okay.
go? And then from there, yeah.
So I graduated dental school 2006. Um, Came out of University of Detroit Mercy, moved to Chicago, like even before I got my license. Because that's where I wanted to work as a National Health Service Corps scholar. So basically, giving back at least 2 years of time to an underserved community. So, I mean, I worked really hard because, it has to meet certain criteria, and I really needed to be in Chicago at the time. So, finagled it.
Did they pay for school for you?
Yeah, they paid for my last 2 years
Okay.
of tuition. And in exchange, you give 2 years working either in rural or urban area, but it has to qualify. So I got this one office to qualify, started there, and there you go. It took off. Um, from there, I worked there for 5 years. It was really, really rewarding. Worked on the south side of Chicago. They call it the Wild Hunnets. Um, it
What
was
kind of what kind
wild.
of dentistry did you do?
So basically phase one dentistry. So extraction, scaling and root planing, composite restorations, even amalgam restoration that also. Um, and that's
Was that
it.
was that
I probably
satisfying to you?
did one. Hmm.
Was that satisfying to you as a
The
clinician?
extraction. So I like the surgery part. Okay. And I liked the impact. It was because, my patient population, pretty much like 25% of my patients didn't speak English at all. So I got really like, proficient in Spanish. I got my speed up, extractions, like I was just shucking them, really, really easy. But I wanted to give the patients, make them feel like they're in like a five-star hotel type of situation even though, we're working in like an underserved community. So It really was. And it was a great team and it was rewarding and it was giving back. But then there were some things that were missing, right?
So
And
who do you,
so
here's a question. Who do you
hmm,
think was more grateful for your dentistry? Was it the people that you served then, or like the
oh,
people that paid like thousands of dollars for like full mouth rehab? Who do you think felt more, who did you feel like actually appreciated you more for being a dentist and for helping them out?
yeah, definitely that population in Chicago.
Okay.
Like definitely, because we're talking about if a patient had Medicaid, that was a plus. Like, oh, they have Medicaid, because everybody else pretty much paid $20 for their filling per filling, $20 per quadrant of scaling or root planing. And I made sure that all of that went diagnosed. And I did have a hygienist, Walter. His name was Walter Alves. He's awesome. And we just saw our patients, and the patients were very, very grateful. Lots of hugs. I was just in a cool pocket because I didn't have that experience at other places. Like I kind of got fired from a free clinic because a patient.
Wait.
Okay.
Wait,
All
wait.
right, here we go. I knew it was
Wait,
I knew Dr.
did you just
Morris was
say you
gonna go
got
left at
fired?
one point.
You got
I
fired
need
from
to
a
hear
free
this.
clinic.
I didn't even. I was volunteering. I got fired from a volunteer
You
job.
got fired from a
From a
volunteer
non-job.
opportunity.
You got fired
That
from a
that
non-job.
was the funniest shit ever. But they were rude. This lady was rude,
Who
and
was
the
the
patient.
patient?
Yeah, super rude.
The patient you're
And
giving
I
free
hadn't
dentistry
really
to.
been groomed yet. We're talking about, yeah, I
So the
wasn't
patient
groomed
you were
yet
giving
for
free
that.
dentistry to was rude to
Mhm.
you.
As hell. Yeah.
All right,
Interesting.
Hmm.
tell us a story.
As
Let's
hell,
go.
yeah.
What's the story?
It's splotchy, The story is overall splotchy, but I just remember her being rude and like, you're not about to do nothing. It was like it was really, really rude. And I was like, all I do remember is that my last words were, that's why you're in a predicament that you're in right now within your
Oh,
mouth. Yeah,
oh,
like that's how, yeah, I know.
All right.
So, but
That's
that's
a trump card
before
because she can't
that's
top that.
before that's before, groomed. I wasn't groomed yet. You got to remember, I'm working in one of the toughest neighborhoods in Chicago, right?
through
And
this
so,
through this program.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm in homeless shelters too. I'm servicing homeless shelters. I'm servicing the Wild Hunnets where we had a shootout at the McDonald's 2 blocks away. So it was just very, you kind of had to, you know,
Be tough.
yeah. So, but I didn't have to get like that with
Well,
anybody else.
okay, here's a question. So you had to do this for 2 years and you did it for 5 years.
I did it for 5. So I ended up
How
getting
much
loan
were you getting
repayment.
paid?
Oh yeah. I was making between 88 and 90K in
And the average dentist
2006.
makes 150,
But
right?
this is 2006. It's
Yeah, I'm
2006.
saying like now the
Okay.
average dentist makes like 150, 160. At that
Right.
time, you were getting paid 80 to 90.
Yeah, like 88 to 90 plus bonuses. So a bonus based on my encounters. So I would have 25 to 35 patients on my schedule per day. And if I saw a certain number of encounters, then I was able to bonus. So
Okay.
I consistently hit my bonus too.
So you
So
you
I was making in the hundreds.
right. So they paid for your last 2 years of dental school, and then
Uh,
whenever you came out, they paid you, and you got bonuses as you saw more people.
yeah, through the
Okay.
clinic, I got paid through the clinic, and then I extended another 2 years because I did loan repayment. So that's when I got an additional $50,000 for another 2 years
Okay.
cash money.
Okay. And so then
Well,
why?
to your loans, right? It's cash money to your loans.
Cash money
No,
to your loans, right?
to
Yeah.
me,
To you
to me,
directly. So
to me
they
directly.
paid your loans and they gave you an additional 50,000.
They paid for my last 2 years of tuition, and then they gave me 50,000.
Okay. And what about the
To go
loan repayment
towards
part?
uh, let's just clarify this because I know the loan repayment program pretty
Mm-hmm.
well. That
Mm-hmm.
50,000 was given to you with the intent that you
Mm-hmm.
put that towards your school debt.
Yes,
Okay, because I just want to make sure anyone listening
but
doesn't
I
take
did
away
not.
that they gave you. Oh, geez.
See, you see what she just said right there? You were trying to help her out. You
I
see?
was trying to let you exit that gracefully. Okay, so you took
So
50,000.
I'm sure the statute of limitations is over.
Allegedly. I was going to say allegedly after every.
Yeah, so you took they gave you the 50,000, and then you said, I'm going to invest it in something else.
Yep.
Good.
And that's what I did. I
Got
started
you.
a mobile dental business.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
the
in
mobile
Chicago
dental
Public
business,
Schools.
what was the point? What did you want to accomplish by doing the mobile dental business?
So I saw a program where I can have like a large impact, like exponential impact on kids, and I didn't have to be there. It was a scalable business. I didn't even know that term existed. But at the time in my head, I was like, ooh, this is scalable. I can hire X, Y, and Z, create these teams, and they can go to the schools, and I can go to work. And I just need to hire a manager that is capable and dependable. And boom. So I was able to obtain a contract
From
through
who?
this. Um, it was through the city of Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah. And they give you a packet of schools that you're assigned to. Because it's very hard to do just independently, just walking in. But to prepare me for it, I like walked into churches, I went to daycare centers, I went to like Jewish schools, magnet schools that weren't a part of Chicago Public Schools, to try to do like, free cleanings and exams on the children. And if they had Medicaid, then I would bill Medicaid. If they did not have Medicaid, then they got a free cleaning, sealants, whatever they needed. So I would do I would do it blind.
Okay,
So that
before we go further, Dr. Morris, I got a question. So we know Medicaid is not a highly profitable endeavor in general, right?
Well,
and then you're also doing free treatment. So what made you think this was a great scalable idea, seeing low reimbursement patients and or free patients? Were there any city of Chicago business funds that you were able to acquire to help this, or was this just all off the 50K that you pocketed?
Right. So you have to pay for the contract, right? So that's an expense. And then I had a team of dentists, hygienists, because only the hygienists can scale, and then dental assistants. In Chicago, they can polish and do sealants too without additional certification, I think. I can't remember. Don't quote me. I think they did have to get a certificate. I'm
Right,
sorry.
that's fine. Yeah.
Medicaid is a volume business. There are a lot of doctors that are very wealthy, and they have Medicaid offices.
Very true.
Okay. And they hire, and it's maybe a rotation, but it's a numbers game. So over those 3 years that I had the contract, we are talking, I probably saw 9,000 children. My team did. And of those, we're in the city of Chicago, and basically, a good school or a school that is going to have a lot of Medicaid based on the percentage of free lunch. So yes, it is a lower reimbursement, but you're seeing volume, and it's an assembly line, and you're delivering quality care because I made sure that I had quality people. So, and the overhead was low when it came to materials. We're only using 5 things: fluoride, disposables, So we're not doing root canals, we're not doing crown and bridge, we're not getting a lab fee involved here. Okay. The doctors are independent contractors. I have to have a certain amount of insurance, but the profit margin was a lot slimmer because it was a scalable business, but it's still something that I didn't have to be in there doing myself with my own hands. I didn't have to be the face of this. The schools were already on board. There was no sales involved. So there's no marketing. So what's that? 5 to 7% for marketing. There's no lab fee. That's 5% for lab fees typically. Right?
Okay. So what's your typical reimbursement on like a pro fee for Medicaid?
Back in the day?
Yeah.
Oh,
gosh, it's not that much different now.
I just I don't know now because I don't accept it now, but I know I could bank on each child producing anywhere between like 95 to like 160
Okay.
if they needed sealants.
All right. And
You
how
had
long were
some
they like
14-year
50?
olds.
Were they
You had
like
some
50-minute
14-year-olds who
appointments?
needed all 8 molar sealants. Sealants were about like 30. You got your fluoride varnish. That was about 26. No, or was it 12? I can't remember, y'all. It's way a
That's
long,
fine.
long time ago. But just to know, like at the end of the day, how many kids we saw? 9,000 kids. Like that's amazing. And my little like, what did I have? I had a little truck, Murano. I would pack up that little Murano, and by the end of the contract, I was able to have a little minivan, and it was
How
great.
much did that? How much did that cost? What does it cost to equip out a mobile unit?
We had to provide services within the school. So a Septico has these mobile units. They kind of look like carry-on suitcases.
Mhm.
And that's where your motor and your suction and everything is in. And then I use Galaxy chairs, those lawn chairs that people lay back in, and they're very light. So it was all about keeping things as light as possible. The hygienists wore headlights, and the dental assistants wore headlights so they could see. And I just kept everything as minimalistic as possible and as disposable as possible.
And how long did you do this for?
It's a 3-year contract.
So you did it for 3 years. And
Mm-hmm.
then what did you do after that? So
Then I
you
went to
shut down your
residency.
business.
Yeah, because the contract was up. So I knew I was getting ready to, I got accepted into residency. I was moving. So I sold some of the stuff to a dentist that was working for me that went ahead and applied for a contract.
Okay.
Mhm.
And where did
Yeah.
you go for perio?
Perio, Detroit Mercy, School of
State of Detroit.
Dentistry.
Yeah.
So I went back to Detroit and started my residency. And I basically like got in. I went to a continued education course and just poured out to the program director about how much I wanted to do perio, and there you go.
So here's
Went
a
back
question.
for went back for
So
interview.
so what made you then all of a sudden, because you seem like you were liking it, and based on my calculations, you saw 9,000 kids, right? Multiply that by, we'll say $100 per kid, right?
Mhm.
Would you? That's $900,000 in 3 years you made, right? Not excluding
Please don't
overhead.
make me cry because
No,
I
but what
get
I'm
that
saying is
money
like,
off
what
real
I'm saying
bad.
is you
I
proved
was
the point.
traveling. I was buying people in the club. I'm gonna buy you.
Oh, okay. So, so
I
you were
was
having a lot
dancing
of
on
fun.
sofas,
You were having a lot of fun,
traveling the world.
and something that I said to Dr. Horton, and even I went through, was when you're working, it's not like you're coming right out of dental school that you don't know any better, right? You've been working, you've made money, and then you
Yeah.
go back to residency, you feel like you're going backwards. Tell me if I'm wrong anytime, Horton, right? I felt like I was
100%.
going backward. I felt like I was being restricted, right? So what would make you stop this? Clearly you had it down, to then all of a sudden want to go to perio.
I wanted to be challenged. Like I wanted to do other procedures.
Okay.
And so I knew I wanted to do implants. And I remember talking to a few of my friends, that were dentists then. And I was like, I'm okay. I was like, I want to do Lumineers because Lumineers were like the thing then, right?
Right.
I want to do Lumineers. I want to do Invisalign. Maybe I'll go to, I think it was in Loma Linda to do implant placement, or maybe I'll go back to Detroit under, Doc and do, the treat, the da 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 da. And the doctor that I'm speaking to, she's probably about maybe like 15 years older than me or so, like 10 to
Okay.
15. She was
Right.
like, you need to specialize. And I was like, okay, but I want to do so much, And she was like, you need to specialize because if you think back, '07, I definitely didn't know any super dentist then. Okay. I was very, community health. I went to the dental meetings, but I still didn't know any super dentists. I
Right.
knew specialists.
Right.
And so she was like, you need to specialize. She's a prosthodontist. And so I was like, okay. You specialize. Okay, so if I had to choose a specialty, all right, I like surgery, but I don't want to do like full mouth, full like face surgery. Then I'm really good at extracting teeth, and I love suturing, so let's do perio. And I want to learn how to do implants. But
Okay, and you matriculated through Perio.
mhm,
So you're very successful in that. So I feel like we did your history last time.
yeah,
What we're really interested in is this new transition. So you went out, you graduated from Perio, you're out in
yeah.
the real world, you're finding your place, and then you kind of had a reignition of your passion for restorative at some point.
Mm,
Tell us about that.
Yeah, what triggered that
yeah,
again?
so I don't think
So
like
you're in Houston now. You're in Houston. You're saying, hey, I want to start doing more restorative stuff. So what triggered that?
like the market and then also listening to like my inner, right? Um, I was always doing what somebody else said. So if you kind of see what the pattern is, it's like, oh, I talked to this person, they said I should do this, and I talked to this person, they told me to do this. That's how I opened up my practice. I sat down with my beautiful friend in Detroit, and she's an orthodontist, and she said, you need to open a practice. I'm pregnant at the time. She was like, you need to open up a practice. When you get down to Houston, you need to have somewhere to call home, and then you can go out and work around the city, to kind of support it, but you need somewhere to like call home. And I was like, all right, let's do it. Got fun, filled out the application for the loan, got all that. But I didn't take the time to assess our backgrounds. She was married. Her husband was an engineer. I think her family was pretty well to do overall. Um, they were because she was sharp as hell all through dental school, But so she may have had a little bit more financial backing going on doing such a big venture like that, and I just didn't have that.
That's a
So I opened
that's
up
a
the
great
practice
point.
and
That's a great point. I want to know pick both your brains on that one. What I found is there's a lot of dentists you talk to who happen to have high earning spouses, right?
yeah.
They will open a practice, all the bells and whistles, and every time you see them, they are the picturesque success story. Oh, my office is killing it. My office is doing that. It's doing this. Once you get to know them after a while and bits and pieces of conversations come out, you realize their office really isn't raking it in the way they're portraying. They're just in a situation they don't necessarily have to rake it in. As long as they're breaking even and maybe making a little bit, they're okay. The office is going. How often do you guys see that down? I feel like in the Northwest, I see that all the time.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
just as prevalent in the South as well?
Yeah.
In the South, I mean, it's hard to get that level of transparency with someone
Right.
that I've come across where they're gonna be like, oh yeah, nah, dog, shoot, I'm barely, Um, so that's what, and I'll say all over dentist period. So that's why I feel like I'm so transparent because I'm like, I wish somebody would have kind of gave me advice and due to my circumstance,
So you think dentists
not thinking
lie?
about their circumstance, but like mine. And then there were no podcasts then. Um,
Do you think
if I
dentists
would have had a
exaggerate?
podcast shit,
Do
I
you
would have
think
been, huh?
do you think dentists exaggerate their success?
I, you know,
I do. I'll say it. I do. I think they do. I think they do. Or
it's
make it
hard to
look like
say.
it's way
I think
easier
it's
than it
hard to
is.
say because I think like they may be bringing in so much, but now I understand how to read a P&L, right?
Right.
And now I can say, well, how much are you spending on marketing? Like, what is your net profit?
Right.
What is X, Y, and Z? So I can ask those questions that, you bringing in a lot of bank, but you have a lot of overpriced, employees, or you're spending 15% on marketing trying to keep up. So now I ask different types of questions that I didn't know how to ask then. And
Like what?
what's your breakdown? What's your percentage spending in labs? What percentage are you spending in your employees? What's your net profit? Do you take salary? And I think that other part when you got you have your spouses and stuff like that, you have a dentist that isn't commingling at all, right? So there's no commingling. They're keeping very good tabs. They may pay themselves like 60K a year just to, stay in compliance with the IRS. But other than that, really their spouse is taking care, or they have liquid savings, things that they can, or investments that they can, liquefy at the drop of a dime to keep them above water. I
So,
wasn't that person.
so do you think that your friend, no shade or anything, but do you think that your friend gave you bad advice without, or at least gave you advice without knowing your circumstances?
I think she spoke from her
Yeah.
experiences.
So without knowing your circumstances, she
I
gave you
think she spoke from
advice.
her experience, and I think like her intent was to try to get something that was stable. It was stability. But really opening up a practice is not stability, like at all. Going down to Texas and get a corporate job and deal with that rigmarole and just offer it to do like this, because let's say I came down here, work for Pacific or work for Castle or whomever, I still would have came to the same place after 5 years of
Okay. So
I'm
you
not
opened your
satisfied.
practice. You
There's
opened your
more I can
practice.
do.
You opened your practice and it did not go well.
Mm-mm.
Right.
Because we have no working capital. We had a little bit of working capital. Of that little bit of working capital, I paid consultants, and like I didn't even have a sign, so whatever I was trying, but I worked at Pacific Dental, but I was using those funds to help keep the office open. It wasn't sustainable. And now that I know how to go back and read a P&L, we're talking about maybe a profit of like, sometimes it was $2,000 profit, sometimes it was $5,000 profit. But from the profit, you're supposed to service your practice loan,
Right.
right? Your practice loan doesn't come into you. It's not in your P&L. You service that with it. Oh,
Okay.
we're in
So
trouble.
so
You
how
know,
long did you have your practice before you had to shut it down?
5 years.
So for 5 years you had your practice, you were going through the ups and downs of it, and then you
Yeah.
shut it down. So then what
Yeah.
did that look like?
Um, I'm in the backyard during this COVID shutdown thing. Then I was like, yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want the stress. Um, I don't want to do it anymore. And I called my accountant. I said, what do I need to do to be able to walk away from my practice? And he says, you have to file bankrupt because you're a personal guarantor on loans and on your lease. So I had to sit down and think about that and how that was going to impact me and what my overall goals and why was.
Yeah, that can be
And
tough,
then
'cause especially if you sign like a 5 or 10 year lease.
Right.
yeah, it was like a
You,
10-year
Yeah, it's
lease.
usually a
yeah,
10-year
and
lease.
that's the ideal. So Walt, when you
No,
buy a
I
practice,
wouldn't tell anybody to sign a 10-year lease.
Well, that's the
I
you
normal.
would tell
wouldn't?
I would tell people to sign a 5-year lease with the first right of refusal. I'm also in real estate class now, by the way, so that's why I know I can speak the lingo.
Okay,
But
so you
yeah,
you basically said I'm done. You filed
yes,
bankruptcy,
yes.
and then what? Did you end up going to work for another periodontist? Did you end up
No, so basically, I had an amazing team. They believed in me, okay?
the team
And I
from
was
your
like, okay,
office?
guys, this is what we're gonna do. We're
Okay.
gonna get rid of the brick and mortar, and we are going to be a mobile perio team because remember, I got my history with mobile
Mobile.
dentistry. We're gonna be a mobile perio team. We're gonna get out there. We're gonna go to offices. It'll be great. It'll be grand. Dentists are doing it. We'll see what the market, what's missing in that relationship. And I'll still have control, like I'll do my own billing and blah, blah, blah. So I had met a dentist, a periodontist in the Galleria area, and he was like, "Well, come to my office. You can bring your patients to my office, and you can lease space or something like that." I was like, "Okay, we'll give that a try." Um, it was a strange situation. His sister was an alcoholic. Anyway, I digress. We ended up having to leave the we ended up having to leave the practice just because it was a little bit of shadiness in his business practices, like certain things that just weren't trustworthy. And like I said, with his sister, she was causing a lot of conflict, and he was okay, but I think like she was like the pit bull. So
So how long was
that's
that? How long did that last? You when you went to his office?
I can't even remember. Maybe like 4 months.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
okay. So
So
you
then the
yeah.
road starts getting bumpy, guys. It gets real bumpy
What does that
Okay,
over
mean?
these next
before we go
years.
there, because we want to
Yeah.
make sure we provide some education for the listeners. Why in the dental field do you feel five, or a 5 and 5 as we call it is better than a 10 and 5?
Oh, yeah. Okay, because you don't know what's going to happen with your practice. Okay? You can buy a practice that is very slow, and you know what? Maybe the foot traffic isn't there. Maybe it's not the right location. You're in a shadow, like whatever it is, but you didn't know that, right? Where I was, the demographics were stellar, 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 stellar. Okay. But still, it just wasn't the right spot. Okay. And accessibility and everything. And to be locked into that for 10 years is a bit much. Things can also be on the flip side. I have one friend, her office, she buckled down and got so freaking focused with her office that it's literally busting at the seams. And that transition happened for her over, of course, like 3 years. And now, like, there's no room for anybody. Like, she has 6 operatories, she's at capacity, like, everybody's over everybody. And she's busting out the seams. So she needs a bigger place, and she needs it as soon as possible, right? So you
Is she a
don't know.
specialist?
No,
What is she?
no. She's a general, but she does a lot of surgery. She does a lot of implants.
Well,
She does a
that,
lot
Well,
of
that's
let
restorative.
me play devil's advocate on that
yeah, you're
because
Mhm.
comparing like apples and
I got
oranges.
well, no, because
Mm-mm.
I got
Talking
friends
about
that are
leases.
no, no. Listen, I got friends that are landlords, and I'll tell you why they love the 5 for 5, and why I think it's not in our favor. Because when you sign a 10-year lease, your rate is guaranteed. And over that 10 years, it's usually a built-in increase. The most standard contracts like a 3% increase every year for 10 years, right? If you sign a 5-year lease, at the end of that 5 years, just like at the end of the 10 years, they can come back to you and say, all right, we're going to raise your rent 50%, 75%. And the reason as a dentist, you want the longest possible commitment if you have confidence in your office is because if you built that office out, that's like 300,000 that you spent to plumb the place out. If you decide to move your office, right, at the end of, let's say, that 5 years, to build out a place, that's at least another, especially if you're going bigger, that's another 300, 400,000 of extra debt you're taking just to plumb and contract out the new office. So if you have confidence in your office, a 10-year lease is always considered better, even by most brokers' standards, than a
Yeah, they're
5-year
gonna
lease
try to get
because of
that
the
10
cost.
year.
Was that?
They're gonna try it. They're gonna try to get the 10 year. It's the most marketable thing, and it's the easiest deal for them to close. Is a 10 year lease. You can do 5 with an option. It's a contract at the end of the day. So if you want to say at year 6, this is the increase, but I have an option, you can create that contract that says that.
No,
What I'm talking,
you don't control the price though. The landlord can come and say, I'm
you can
going
say
to double
you
your
can
rent.
do. Listen, when it comes to real estate, they broker deals all day long. Now you have to think, what size place are you building? So I just want to know on the top of your head, in your ideal practice, how many operatories? Let's say it's a super duper dental practice, right? Where you're doing restorative and you're doing surgery and you're keeping most of your cases in-house. What is the number of operatories that you think is ideal for your first practice just starting out?
Yeah. Am I a new dentist?
No,
Or am
you're
I or am I
you.
me now?
You now.
All right. I would say about 8 ops.
8.
Yeah.
So 8 is cool. I like 8, but guess what's better? Because are you going to be the only dentist there? How's your hygiene program going to run?
Well,
How many hygiene?
let's
Because
not forget. Let's not forget. I ran 2 offices that were 6 ops each that produced over 1.3 to 1.4 substantially for 12 years. And I've brokered a number of deals. So I kind of have done that part already. So
right,
that's
but when
why
we're
I
talking,
know that if you commit to a 5 and 5, at the end of that 5, you're at a disadvantage because the landlord knows that if you move, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars that you're giving up for what you built into this place. They can turn around and just sell this place to the next dentist because there's always a dentist looking for a new office. And now, if you want to build up because you're growing, now you got to take out a new loan because you got to find the spot. You got to build out. And I don't know if you've
and
done
it
any
can't be
build
too
outs.
far. And it can't be
Build
too
outs is
far. But
like
that's
three
why
300,000 to plumb a 10 op office, end to end to
300 is a little
build.
high. But yeah,
Okay,
300
all
is a little high.
right.
Well, I mean,
But
okay, so
I think
here's the
that
question.
I think at the end of the day
Hmm?
that you can be as confident and you can have all the confidence in the world, right? You really don't know what's going to sprout up and you don't know what predicament you're going to be in. I think 8 operatories is okay for 1 to 2 dentists. Are you trying to work every day? What type of schedule, what type of lifestyle do you want to have? I think all of those things need to come into play before just saying, oh, I'm a sign up for 10 years. Because the other thing is, I would never outright build another office from the ground up. I would buy an office that's already plumbed. I would buy an office that's already built out with a number of operatories so I can make that transition after 5 years and decide after I have enough capital to support the loan and to support myself, okay, now I can build
Okay.
something from the ground up.
So let
That's
me
going
so
to
let me
have
so let
15
me ask you this.
operatories.
So let me ask you this. So I have this office in this building that I'm in right now. I need to expand. I need to grow another 4 to 5 ops because I'm growing, right? What's the odds that I'm going to find, if I had an 8 op office, I'm going to find, say, a 12 op office that fits um, everything that I want with minimal additional investment that I need to make to build it out. And I'm going to be geographically in a place that I can still keep my current patients. Because remember, to sustain that growth of that single office, your new
Wow.
office that you got to buy, that you're hoping to find already built out, already plumbed,
No, no, no. I'm saying
already
if I
ready.
were to start an office from ground up, that I would not start an office from ground up. I'm saying this is not my secondary office. This is my first office straight off the rip that I would
Right. No,
have. If I
I get
had
it.
to,
I
if
get
I
it.
had
But
a chance to
that's
go back to 2014, I wouldn't have opened an office. But had a chance a few years or whatever down the line, my first office would have been something that was already built out. Something where I had to just come in and do light cosmetic work to it and go from there. And
right.
then
But
seeing how I'm growing, seeing what type of life is this fulfilling? Do I want more doctors? Do I want to do all procedures in here, keep everything in house? How to, because sometimes you can want something, but until you get into it, then the trajectory changes because it's not living up to your expectations.
What do you think your
right.
biggest mistake was? Was it the location? Was it your focus on the office because you worked at other places? Or was it just not having the financial means to live your dreams when it came to what you were looking for? Does that make sense? So what was your biggest mistake? Was it location, or was it that you just were not in that office 5 days a week?
I would say my business acumen.
Okay. So you
And
just didn't know
so
enough
I
about
spoke to a
business.
potential investor one day and he was like, you really like business acumen. I was like, I like what?
So
So,
you just didn't know enough
yeah,
about dental business.
correct.
So you
Correct.
shouldn't have opened a dental office
I
at
should
all.
not have opened a dental office.
Okay. Okay.
I should not have opened a dental office. I should have came down, worked. I was a new mom back home in my city that I grew up in, but I hadn't been here in many, many years. Um, yeah, no.
Okay.
I should have worked. I should have learned the city. And I think working through corporate and traveling as a periodontist, I was able to see the different areas of Houston to see what kind of population meshed the best with my personality type and how I deliver care and services.
Okay.
Then from there, still like I think I had a little bit of imposter syndrome where I'm an owner, but am I an owner?
Well,
Like,
I'm kind of
you
confused then,
know,
because you say that you shouldn't have owned the practice, you've shut down your practice, but then you
yeah,
went and almost did the same exact thing, but at somebody else's location
yeah,
with that
almost.
guy.
Right.
Why?
So it gets bumpy, right? Because
Well,
now we
I get that.
are
I'm just saying, like, why, it almost seems like
because
you didn't
okay,
learn the lesson
so
yet.
with him, we had a little bit more stability. He's an older periodontist. He's trying to transition out, and there was a chance that I can like buy into his practice owner financing, and he was already restoring implants and doing some restorative
Right.
quietly.
But wait a minute, you said you should have never been in the business of owning a dental practice. That was your biggest mistake. And now you're
Well,
trying to
you
buy
do
another practice.
when you're in it, when you're in the
Well,
trenches,
you
when you
learned a
in the
lesson.
trenches.
You know what I
We're
mean? You
in the
learned it,
trenches, right?
but
So
that's what I'm saying. But you learned a
we can
lesson.
reflect, but yeah, if I reflect and I'm able to sit back and think and
Okay.
like have time, because now I have time. After I have my daughter, I turn around and I have, I have a son and then I have
Yeah.
another daughter. And then, it's so much that's going on where as a woman in this thing, it's a little different. It's a
Break that down.
little different on how we have to the decisions we have to make. And when we are in like this, like constantly going in this survival mode, and then when your world stops and you actually have time to think about what the fuck,
Yeah.
then you're like, okay. Meanwhile, you're going through hormonal things. Your body is like doing all these changes. And it's so much, not to mention the relationships. And then your parents are getting older. It's so much going on that, yeah, was I able to like shoot from the hip with all my answers? No.
So
I'm
when did you
literally,
actually have time to think? Fast forward.
I had time to think during COVID.
Okay.
And I had time to think when I got rid of the brick and mortar, but then I was traveling from office to office.
Right.
Right? So I'm traveling office to office, and I was like, I fucking hate this shit.
Okay. Okay. You hate traveling.
Fucking hate it. I hate lugging around shit. I hate leaving my shit over here. I hate it. And then I have to like morph into the culture of every office that I go to. So like it may be like a frantic office, and I gotta be frantic. It may be like a chill office, then I can chill out. Those are fun. It may be like a persnickety office where if I turn wrong or I make too much noise or I laugh too loud, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. It was just so stressful, right?
So this is still doing
And
perio.
yeah, solely
Okay.
perio. On my tail end of having my own practice, I started to do a little bit more restorative. I started restoring implants probably like 3 years into the practice, and I started doing Invisalign. I got certified 3 years into the practice. I got certified for Invisalign. So I wanted to do Invisalign. I started kind of doing it, and then some
How did
restoration. I
you,
started doing that.
so with the traveling perio and the Invisalign, I think this is a great place to explore. How did you procure clients as far as your traveling perio? And then how or who was your customer base for the Invisalign?
Patients that were already in the practice because my
Your traveling
referral,
practices or your old brick and mortar practice?
my old brick and mortar. So that's where I was doing my Invisalign.
Okay.
Okay. And so these are patients that may have found me online or like they weren't referrals
Okay, good. I was going to
because
ask you that.
the referral world for me was very dry. Like I received my referrals for perio, but we are talking like every blue moon. Okay. And then I'll have a doctor who's referring, and then they'll just drop. But what happened? Oh, he has a new office manager who wants to keep everything in house, so we're going to bring someone in. Or, oh, we had you'll have a turnover of dentists to let the hygienist, take the reins when it comes to perio. right? And not making those referrals. And you'll have practices that change their whole philosophy when it comes to their hygiene program too, where it kind of falls to the wayside. So like me being able to put food in my family's mouth was depending upon whose office manager was around or those types of things. And it just became a challenge. And we also had two guys in my area that were doing extremely well. So we had an oral surgery office where the owner doctor is very charming and very cool, and he had a very good rapport with the doctors when it came for implants. And then we had a periodontist who, you know, got along with a lot of the guys in the area and was kind of like a household name when it came to perio referrals too. So
Yeah,
my competition may have been a little stiff.
let's air out some dirty laundry in the industry. What was your gift giving like to your referring doctors?
Oh my gosh, it's Fat Tuesday, so let's drop off king cake and let's drop off this and that and
Yeah.
cookies
I'll tell you
and
this much,
shit.
as in my offices, most of the specialists in my area were good. I can't really say I knew too many that were bad. Some were amazing. I mean, we were getting Seahawks tickets, like 2-3 games a season.
Illegal.
We're getting our choice of Mariners tickets.
Illegal.
I mean, they were, and so I almost feel like it's almost like when a big corporation or a Walmart comes in and just outspends all the small private businesses.
Yeah.
If you get someone that has enough capital, whether it's family money or whatever, and all of a sudden they're giving gifts to the general dentist, and that's something that a lot of patients don't realize, that you're not always getting referred to the best in town.
That's it.
But that's not to say, just as a disclaimer,
that's it.
That there's every specialist I knew was good.
Yeah.
But some were amazing at gifts, and that sways the staff. If they come and take care of your staff, they take your staff out to dinner and bring them coffee. Yeah. Now your whole staff wants you to refer to this office because they like it so much.
That's it.
You know what I mean? It's sad because especially if you're just trying to get started, like you were, Dr. Morris. Like, how do you compete with that?
I couldn't. I literally couldn't. Like, there's only so far my cookies and my like gift baskets were gonna go. But it doesn't matter because you got some Seahawks tickets, right? That's what, $500, right, on the higher end, times two. That's about. Then you may hook them up with X, Y, and Z. So let's say that's about $2,000, right? Doctors, at least I feel like in my area, could give a flying hell about those tickets. What they're trying to do is keep those 5 implants in-house and be able to gross $10K or so off of those implants. And we're saying if they're just $2,000 each or something.
Well, let me ask you.
And the cookies and the this and the that, it was more of like in the area and the dentist I talked to, it's not even about that. It's about keeping revenue in my office, keeping revenue. So why am I going to go give that up and let this walk out the door when I can go get that training? And there you go. When my consultant is saying and my accountant is saying, because all of them come back and they say, well, this is what you referred out. You need to go and get this training. And I don't think there's any amount of tickets that are going to like kill that.
Well, let me ask you.
But you got to realize that that's really more of your younger cohort of dentists that have the drive to go and say, hey, I've been practicing 20, 30 years. Now I'm going to go learn implants. It's usually your younger graduates that are hungrier and also have more debt, that they're trying to pay off. So they're trying to be the super GPs for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, I can see how it's hard for you to compete with both. On one end, you got half the doctors wanting to do their own stuff, and on the other end, you got half the doctors bought off. How do you put your foot in that door?
It's really, really, really tough because you're talking about people who like their biggest fear is letting their patient walk out, and so they're talking to their friends, they're talking to consultants, they're talking to their accountant, and there's a lot of fear built into that referral. And being now that I'm on the other side, and I'm seeing it, like now I'm just like a fly on the wall when hearing about referring, and it really isn't something. The goal is to try, if we can't send them out, if we don't want to send them out, and we really can't do that procedure, then let's get them in here.
Well,
And there you
that's
go.
yeah, that's actually what I wanted to ask you. So you used to travel, you used to go to different offices.
Hmm.
Do you think that you were your own demise because you had trained these doctors now, these referring doctors, that, hey, don't refer to my office, my brick and mortar. I'm just going to come to you. And just like that, they started seeing, hey, maybe it's actually beneficial for me. So what you were doing, do you think that that was what was actually causing your own demise? And I say that because in our one of our episodes, I talked about the demise of specialty, and I basically said the same thing, that we're basically training our referring group or cohorts to not refer to us and to say you need to come to me. So what you were doing by traveling, do you think that actually hurt your own brick and mortar practice?
Um, these are offices that wouldn't have referred to me because of the distance.
Okay.
All the offices that I was traveling to, I didn't rotate through any offices within Cyprus.
Right, but they talk, right? And if it wasn't you, it could have been another periodontist. Like,
Right,
hey, by the
right. But
way,
see, that's
ma'am,
something that,
do you see what I'm getting at, though?
okay, so what that's doing is moving a little bit away from my overall why when being a periodontist, right? I like surgery, but as I learn more about perio, there's so much preventative and disease and different things that you can like see and prevent. And I wanted my impact to be a lot more exponential, right? And I feel like if I'm seeing a few patients a year from my referrals, like I'm not really having that impact. But I feel like if I'm working with a group of hygienists and I'm in an office that has, 2 to 4 hygienists, then we're working together as a team to educate patients, to educate the other dentists in the office that may be a little bit more hands off when it comes to perio. So that was my overall why. It was like, it's more so patient focused and education focused, not
Right.
so much referral focused. Cause I feel like a business owner is gonna do what they need to do to sustain their business, no matter how much they love you, no matter how much they like you. They're gonna do, and especially if I'm working within my demographic age wise, then we have those hungrier dentists that, are tired of the drill and fill. They want to do more high producing procedures. So they're looking into implants, or looking into hybrid dentures, different things like that. Okay. So it was something that clicked in me, was like, people are gonna do what they want to do anyway, right? So one thing that really was pivotal for me was going to this conference, the DIA conference, Dental Influence Alliance, and those people blew my mind. I still had my practice at the time, and I walked in there and I see these young docs, and they have swag, of course, they're influencers, but they are up there and they are speaking and they are showing cases and they're personable and they're getting these cases. And I was like, wow. So instead of like, he doesn't refer, I had to drop that attitude and say, you know what? That's the type of doctor that I want to be associated with. That's the type of doctor I want to be.
Well, but that doesn't help your business because you still you live and die off of
Yes, it
referrals.
does.
But that's what so
Absolutely.
those doctors are all doing stuff. They're not referring to you, and periodontists are referral based
That's
mostly.
okay.
But
That means that maybe being a periodontist isn't for me.
there you go. So that's what I'm getting at. So do you think that that mindset shift is kind of what ended up just saying, you know what, I'm done with this whole brick and mortar. I'm done my own office. Do you think that that dynamic, that shift, that going to the influencer conference, that realizing that I'm just not competing the way I want to for with my practice is what determined the whole idea of just let me just call it quits and move on?
Right. I wanted to be able to have access to more patients, right? I
And you
wanted
weren't
to
getting
move
it
in.
from your office,
No,
right?
no, no, no. I wanted to move into a situation where we had a good population of patients, we have robust marketing, we have good equipment and great systems and environments that lack toxicity, right? And so I wanted a positive working environment and everything like that. And I was like, oh, I can be me and I'll go into offices and then every office is going to be happy because I'm happy and I'm spirited and everything like that when it comes to the culture, but it's not all like that. Right. So boom, we had a checklist, right? So okay, I went to Perio. That sounds all good. I know my ish, I think, kind of. But I know my stuff. I'm confident and I'm like, I want to teach hygienists. I want to teach dentists. But not every dentist wants to be taught. Some people just want their ego streaked and to talk BS. Not every hygienist wants to listen and be reprobed and all this other stuff. And all these reality things setting in, but I still feel like my impact is exponential. And so
So
I wanted more patients to give more education to catch perio sooner, all the while transforming smiles and really seeing the patient through all of their treatment.
So then when did you decide to say, okay, I'm going to start doing more of everything, basically becoming a super GP? Because that's what you're going to be now. It's a super
But
GP. And where
so,
did you end up work, right? I mean, think about it. You're
so
still doing
something hit.
perio.
No, remember I had the mobile thing, right? And I had 3 employees at the time and I had an
Yeah.
office space. I was wasting a shitload of money every month, had a little like cubicle office space or whatever. And, they call the patients follow up. They call the offices follow up. We filed our own insurance. That was a part of our package, X, Y, and Z. And then I looked around. I was like, I'm going to get a job. I swear.
But
I
that was your
swear.
job.
I was going to go to
Weren't
get a
you
job as a
traveling?
GP.
So you
I was like, this
basically,
ain't it.
you were basically doing traveling perio. Then you
Mhm.
realize I'm just going to go and get a job as a general dentist.
Yeah.
Why not a job as a periodontist?
Mm-mm.
It sounds like she gave up on perio.
Well, I mean, listen.
Oh,
we gotta
so,
give our listeners because
we want to give them what they want. Okay. Who's our target? What's our target listener? What's our
We
our
got
avatar?
everybody. We got it.
Huh?
everybody.
We
So
got
the
dental
question
students.
is, Dr.
Okay,
Morris,
dental, but in the world of dentistry.
why didn't you get a job as a periodontist and you got a job as a
Yeah,
GP?
become an associate as a
Okay,
periodontist.
so I was a little bit fed up all around with my specialty. Okay. The patient population, I feel, are the toughest patients in all of dentistry. These are patients that are very sensitive about their dental health. They're very sensitive and they're terrified. If they weren't terrified, they wouldn't let this disease. They know when they wake up, their mouth tastes funny. But if they weren't so scared, then they would have went ahead. So we're dealing with anxiety, we're dealing with fear. Then we're dealing with something that's extremely expensive. Okay. Then I'm not their primary doctor, right? So there's a level of trust that's not there yet. I'm not within the dentist office, so the dentist isn't handing me off. Okay. So we have to work up trust. Then it's a lot of money. Then there's discomfort involved. And when it comes on the level of patients that doctors want to refer, they refer problems, right? They refer that patient that is tough to numb, tough in every aspect. And I just wanted to have some time and it was just all intense. So we go ahead and we factor in my personal life and giving birth to little kids and my hormonals and all this other stuff. And we factor in like the day-to-day practice situation. It was just too much. I just want I can handle like my typical 20% when it's 20%, not when it's 75%, so phew.
Walt,
Hold on,
do
hold
you
on.
So
feel
that was it. That was
75%
a
of
part of
your
it. That was a big part of it.
Well,
okay, Walt, do you feel 75% of your patients are the, highly difficult to manage patients?
well, not management, but as a periodontist, as any kind of specialist, we don't really get the easy stuff. A lot of general dentists, they do the easy stuff. Once in a while, we'll get something easy, right? But we don't get a lot of the easy stuff. So I feel like that's what we signed up for. So I'm kind of confused because it sounds like you
You
hate.
don't have to take it just because you
Well,
sign up.
no,
See,
but
the thing is, like,
that's why you
listen,
signed up.
we get one in this body, right? We get
I get
one
what you're
life in this
saying,
body.
but you're the specialist. You are the end.
Well,
end
if it's
result.
not for her, it doesn't have to be for her.
Oh
I mean,
no, no, I'm just
that's
saying
what we're
that she
coming down
basically.
with.
I'm
I
just
guess
saying that she described every specialist. You described all the specialties. It's difficult. We get the tough cases. We have patients that we don't know because we're getting referred stuff, right? So it's literally every single specialist except for maybe pedo, right? We get stuff sent to us. And so that's every specialist. So you basically just didn't want to be any specialist at all.
Ortho is a good one because I feel
ortho, sorry, and ortho, you're right.
Ortho's cool. Pedo, you kind of grow up with your
right. So pedo
dentist.
and ortho.
Oral surgery in Texas, you get to give the good drugs, so they freaking love you because you can get propofol. Like, ugh.
Well, you can sedate. You can sedate.
No one else can, but
that's everywhere does that.
Powerful.
That's
sedation
not a Texas
is powerful.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's very powerful in the patient's overall experience, right? Yeah. So if they're sedated and they're comfortable and they know the doctor's going to knock them out, I think that kind of helps half of it walking in. I think endo probably has endo has tough patients and toughness, but
so you could have sedated as a periodontist too.
I can't use the good stuff, but yeah, I think you can sedate as periodontist.
Right.
Yeah,
so
but I just sounds
like you just were done with specialty. Period.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a personal thing. I would hate to listeners to leave this thinking that it's necessarily the profession.
No,
exclusively. I think it's more of a personal thing. It wasn't a good fit for you anymore, and you made a choice based on what you
it wasn't a good fit.
It
wasn't. Yeah. No, it's not a good fit for me. It's not a good fit for my personality. I still do my perio procedures.
Right.
I still, if I see a doctor calling on my phone and it's during office hours, during business hours, I excuse myself because they may have a patient in the chair. I still work as a periodontist 3 days a month. And they're actually kind of relaxing because I don't have to do hygiene checks and all these other little, things that GPs have to do. When I walk out of there, like, man, I was all right. But when it comes to the fulfilling part,
what's fulfilling to you? What are some fulfilling procedures?
For me?
Yeah.
I really love like cosmetic. So if I'm able to do some aesthetic crown lengthening, I really enjoy that. Especially
not perio procedures.
In general,
GP procedures.
So if I have a case that needs aesthetic crown lengthening and veneers, love it.
Yeah. So we got the aesthetic crown lengthening. Just so listeners know, that's something that more often than not a periodontist would do. But we're trying to focus on what attracts you to the GP world procedure wise, minus the surgery that you're doing, obviously, because you're a skilled periodontist.
As much as they are tough when I'm in the middle of something, I love hygiene checks because I get to meet, especially I'm newer in the practice that I'm at now. I get to meet patients for the first time. I get to establish some trust and some rapport. I get to diagnose disease that I see. I get to educate. When I walk out of a hygiene exam and my treatment coordinator is there, they're taking notes, and I go back and I read my treatment coordinator notes, and they're like everything that I said, which means like they're getting it. I'm like, hot damn, yes. And it's just like, that makes me feel so good. I love that because we're educating, and I'm speaking to them how they want to be spoken to, and I'm sitting there eye to eye with them, knee to knee with them, and I'm pointing to, I'm in an amazing practice, not just with the technology, but with the patients and our systems and our overall like culture of the office. I really, really love it. I don't want to fuck it up. Like, I love it. So
you're basically
that's one of my favorite moments as, practicing as a general. Procedure wise, if I diagnose this, I have to treat it. Right. So, it can be anything. I really love crown and bridge. I really like making sure like my margins are just right. Like the x-rays have to be perfect. I need a contact that's there. Just like, I really love doing like clean, comprehensive dentistry. So I think anything like crown and bridge, I would have to say. And then if I could put in like, make it like a multi-specialty case or so, where we're including like aesthetic crown lengthening and veneers or crowns, like very rewarding.
So let me ask you this: the office that you're in right now, Do you guys refer out a lot, or do you keep a lot in-house? Meaning that do the other dentists do a lot of procedures, endo, surgeries, ortho? Do they do all that?
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
you found
So
a super GP office.
yes. So what my owner doctor has done is that he's found doctors like me who have, another level of training, either in years or um, AGD residencies, that are very confident in what they do. And there you go.
Let me jump on that. I
Hmm.
had these experiences when I was owning where someone would come to me that was a prosthodontist, for say, and I had an ad out for a GP, and they say, "Oh, I'll take the GP job." And let's go. I'd say, "Okay, it pays this much," and they say, "Well, can I get X amount more?" And I'd be like, "Well,
Mm-mm.
why?" Because I'm a prosthodontist. I'm like,
No,
"Yeah, I'm
doesn't work
happy
like
for
that.
you. I'm happy for you,
Doesn't work like
but
that.
you're doing GP work, so you got to get
Don't
paid
work like
GP
that.
rates, right?"
Don't work like that.
So what about when you're doing some of your super GP stuff, like your aesthetic
Hmm.
crown lengthening?
Hmm.
Do you bill out as a specialist? Do you get paid as a specialist in those particular specialty procedures? Or are you getting paid your same GP rate or percentage or however you negotiated it, which could potentially be a detriment to you? And of course, if I was a business owner, I would love to have someone that was super skilled like you that I could pay the regular rate,
All right.
but
Hmm.
you did all this extra stuff. So what have you found that's kind of you've experienced in this situation?
Yeah, no, I get paid the same as whatever GP was there.
Okay.
So whatever the other GPs make is what I make. So Heartland is, I used to be at Heartland, that was significantly less than what I was definitely used to being compensated. But I learned so much, right? A lot of continuing education involved with that. Almost 100 CEs over the course of a year.
At Heartland.
Um, mhm.
Okay.
Um, I'm all about volume. You gotta remember where I came from, right? So where I came from, it was about volume. It was about if I have a patient here diagnosing disease and treating disease, not watching disease, um, and keeping my chair full treating patients. So everything else, you know,
Do you
I
think
still
that's
don't.
fair to you?
Yeah.
Philosophically speaking, you think it's fair to you with all your extensive training and your added skill set above any other GP, regular GP,
Hmm.
for you to, because for me as a listener, it sounds like you're almost selling yourself short by compromising what your worth is. Because you're clearly worth more than a GP with everything that you know, whether it's from a treatment planning standpoint, whether it's from a disease prevention. There's a lot of stuff you learn in perio that the GPs just haven't had that extra years of training
Yeah.
and right,
I tell you, I look at a case way different
right.
than some of the doctors that I work with. I'm like 2, 3 years down. That's what I'm thinking about, And
Right.
I'm sitting there, I see a case and I'm processing it and I like go into like this blank stare. But how can I put it? Part of it is it's a package deal, right? And so it depends on what type of environment I'm in. If I'm in an environment that has the technology that is efficient, that has great systems, robust marketing, and I don't have to pay for any of those things. Okay. And I'm getting an X number of new patients a month, X number of recall exams a month. I'm getting opportunities to keep my chair, my schedule full. I have an administrative team that is dedicated to me. So I have a treatment coordinator that is in the room every time that I'm in the room with a patient for an exam. They're following up with my patients after the exam. So that's a whole administrative edge. I have AI that is helping with insurance verification, patient confirmation, patient instructions, consent, keeping me safe legally. Um,
But to play
All
devil's
those
advocate,
things.
that's not that uncommon.
So what I'm trying to say is that it's a package. Don't short side yourself by just looking at a percentage. It's a package because you can make 60% of a lot of nothing.
Well, no,
But
I'm not talking about strict percentage. I feel like everything you described is not that uncommon.
it is.
it I
I've been in, so I've traveled to many, many
yeah.
offices, both, and there's a certain level of humility, right? I've traveled to offices as a periodontist, both in private sector and also in the corporate sector. There is a level of humility that specialists need to take on, that residents need to take on, that peel that shit off. Peel it off. Peel that ego off. Listen, humble
I get that.
thyself
I guess my
because
question wasn't about
you
ego though.
do.
My question's about systems, and
No, your
outside
question
of
was
home
about
offices, like even right
getting
now, I
what you
work out
feel
of
that
three
you
offices,
deserve,
and
but it's a package. It's a
everything that you
package on
just
what you deserve.
Hold on. One
okay.
mic, one mic. We
So
gotta have one person talking at a time.
so the reason I say that is because like right now I work out of three different offices on the weekends. All three offices have everything that you just described. And so I wouldn't I don't feel like that is so rare that you would have to shortchange yourself by taking GP rates for the sake of having systems when systems are readily available in a ton of offices.
So
I mean,
I've looked
we,
at
you know,
reimbursements for specialists down here in the great, and it's also regional. Okay. So when you're coming from a different region other than Texas, shit's different. Okay. And so down here in the great state and in our area, in our pocket, I look at reimbursements and I have a big purple binder of what I was getting reimbursed from all the insurance companies, being credentialed as a specialist. And then also what I'm making being credentialed as a general. Okay. And it's not a huge difference. At work. And I used to do crown lengthening for $249 while working at Pacific Dental. Okay. So it all depends on where the chips lay. There was some times in my private practice where I did crown lengthening for that amount as well, depending on the insurance policy that I was in network with. So there isn't a huge difference between the reimbursements for the GP and for the specialist. That's number one. I'm talking about in my area. And maybe you can fly down and come take a look. Then come spend some time. Come spend some time in
I
the
know a
great
couple of people
state.
in your area.
Okay,
I'm not
because
sure all would agree with you though, but keep going.
and they don't have to
Yeah.
because I'm comfortable in my truth and I'm comfortable in what I'm doing. And I'm not doing it for y'all.
Right.
I'm doing it for me.
Do you think that
I'm done doing it for y'all.
right?
I'm
Do
done
you
doing it for
do you
the
think hold on,
acceptance.
do you think that what you went through owning your practice, having the practice fail, because you said I'm done with this practice, going through all
Right.
this process, do you think that's what's gotten you to this point where you're like, listen, I don't have to do as much. I have this system that somebody else has set up for me and so
Yes.
forth. So that's kind of humbled you to say, I'll take this because the other stuff that I remember wasn't as good. Is that why do you think that that's why you're at the stage where you're like, you know what? It doesn't matter about percentages or anything. I have less stress on me.
So no, let's be clear. Like it matters when it comes to
Oh,
percentage.
okay. Okay.
And it matters
I thought
on
I
how,
understood
but
for a
it
second.
like I say, it's a package, right?
Okay.
So I knew when I was at my first job as a general what I was taking, and that was my first job, after being perio. I knew my second job, which was Heartland, was less, but I was going to gain more mentally and through my skill set.
Okay.
I was also going to learn to be able to compare systems, okay? Because just when you think you have it all figured out, unless you go right back to where you were at and get right back on that same bicycle, that you don't know what you're going to encounter. So that's what I'm saying. Until you go out there and literally like risk it all in an environment you don't even know. Walk a mile in my shoes, then come talk to me.
So
But
it
until
was so it
then,
was your past. Your past has shaped who you are now and has allowed
absolutely.
you to kind of say, you know, this is not that bad.
This is where I shine. This is what I'm good at. This is what I love. This is what feels good to my spirit. And when you go through the trauma,
Mm-hmm.
see, when you don't go through shit and you don't go through any trauma and you don't go through ups and downs, your body isn't very sensitive to its environment.
Okay.
And that inner beast in you is just like, ah, la, 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 la. You know, that intuition.
Okay.
So right now, being what I went through, I'm very, very sensitive to my environment, to my room. So I know what the room is making me feel like. And yes, it's based on a lot of emotions, but that can also be like a winning thing too.
So
So
are you willing to say that, you know what, just for my peace of mind and my ability to just kind of feel more relaxed, I'm willing to take less?
okay.
am I saying that correct? I mean, am I
So
kind of does that make sense? Like
no, it's
you're
giving
willing to
me
give up
room.
finances for peace of mind because you've gone through all that, all the hurdles and obstacles and trauma and everything.
Which there's nothing wrong with. Just to clarify, there's
No, there's
absolutely nothing
absolutely
wrong with
nothing.
that.
No, no, no.
That is
I'm
100%
trying
a
to
fair thing to
understand.
say that there's a
Yeah,
value in your peace of mind,
that's
and
it.
you equated that in your decision making.
That's it.
I think
Like
that's
you've put a
100% fair to
value on
say.
it.
Yeah,
You've put a value on it and said this value plus this makes me happy. Even if the finances are less, the value
right.
here is more. Together, I have more.
And why are you thinking? The only reason I think it's important to address
So
that is because I think we're getting two messages. One is this what seems a very authentic expression of what you were going through and where you found a great fit,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's this right package, this balance of peace of mind, procedures, patients, systems, etc.
mhm.
And then other times, and we've talked both last time and this time, there's this almost this alter ego that comes out that I'm hyper business, I'm hyper, multiple revenue streams, all about
Mhm.
contracts and numbers and P&Ls. But as a listener, a lot of what I'm hearing don't seem to mesh, right?
Okay,
And
okay. I
that's
see.
why I
I see
want
how that can
listeners
be
to know
taken.
that
Yeah,
this is a
Okay.
very
You ready
personal
for it?
decision that
I'm
really
ready.
works for you. And
that's
that
it.
No,
and
no,
that's
no.
beautiful. That's beautiful.
Okay. Okay. So I'm always going to be about multiple revenue streams. I also really like sleep money, which was what was so like gratifying when I did even if because I wasn't doing P&Ls then, so who knows? But let's say my profit margin was about 10%, right? That's a 10% that I didn't have to see one patient for.
That was when
Okay.
you were in Detroit with your mobile
Mm-mm,
business.
Chicago with the
Oh,
mobile.
Chicago mobile business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yep. Just want to make sure everybody knows that.
So I like that. I like to know that a business is going, something is moving, income is being generated, and I'm not involved. And I feel like dentistry is very, very personal. It's very intimate. You're very close to people. You are dealing with people's fears. And if you are I think I'm an empath, right? Especially with everything that's gone on over the past, 4 years or so, 3 years. Definitely. So I'm very sensitive to my environments and I absorb a lot of energy. So being like, it's just too personal for me right now. Like, and I forgot that, okay, I have other skills, right? And the world is bigger than just dentistry, right? So I feel that there's other business models that can allow for passive income and not just dentistry. Because again, I have 3 kids to raise, plus my bonus babies, right? So we're raising many, many kids and we're trying to provide for them, also be a good mentor for them, X, Y, and Z. Dentistry isn't the only way. And I think that it can definitely give you the income. And I call it my grandfather mentor told me that back when I was 20 years old. he told 21, he told me like dentistry will give you the capital to invest and become very wealthy, but you're gonna have to work for that capital to do that. And instead of making it like my exit strategy, I wanted to make it my capital strategy.
So right now
That's
you
the
look at
plan.
dentistry as just a means to do other things that you really want to do.
Absolutely.
Okay, because
Absolutely.
you talked about real estate,
Yes.
right? You're a real
Yes.
estate agent, or you're going to be a real estate agent of some sort.
I want to do investing. Be a real
Investing,
estate
right?
investor.
But you're getting your license for real estate
Yes, yes.
agency,
Just
right?
because pretty much being that I'm the first one of my kids in my family. I have real estate agents in my family, but of my little pack,
Mhm.
I want to be able to, because you don't need a real estate license to be an investor. You really don't. But I feel through my path that I've been so dependent on others, my accountant, and not knowing how to ask the right questions, not knowing how to challenge them in the right ways, not pulling everything I can out of them so I can like benefit more than what I'm actually doing. But now I can, and I can have a different level of conversation with them or with another real estate agent or with other investors or with, other hard money lenders. Like I want to
How
be
much
able
do you
to,
think? How much do you think is more the conversation you have in, or an ability to divest emotionally from business engagements? Now I'll tell you why I asked that, because I'm still stuck on this 5 with the option, 10 with the option.
You need to
Okay.
let it go.
still
Just
stuck
let
on
it go.
that?
Move
No,
on.
listen, that I've heard, given the history and given the expressions you're still currently saying, the fact that you would think that a 10-year fixed
Oh
is
God.
not as good as a 5 in the dental world, not in a general. I gotta, I'm selling clothes that I can pick up and move from one store to another. I'm talking about an actual built out dental office. Tells me that you may not have either the experience on those particular type of contracts and deals, but your emotional explanation of, well, you don't know what you're going to feel like, what you want to do, how you're going to, where you might be in life. When it comes to the business, just like with you're going into real estate in the housing market, a 30-year fix at a good rate is better than a 5-year arm when there's no
All day.
guarantee what that interest rate is going to be.
All day.
That's why when you're leasing with a dental office, at 10 with an option on a fixed rate with a fixed growth is always going to be better than a 5 with an option. When literally moving your office, you're going to lose patients, and it's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars extra, either in the new office you're going to acquire, and you have to, as you said, put in cosmetic work into it. You might have to plumb it to your specifications. Then the landlord loves it because, like I said, the moment you move out, you can't take all the plumbing with you. So that landlord is going to find the next dentist down the street and fill it with little to no work. And so, do you
So,
think you have the ability to divest yourself emotionally from business, given everything that you've expressed and experienced?
okay. Well, yeah. So the thing is that I married an amazing man who knows how to divest emotion. I mean, and that is my partner. And that's my partner in life and also my partner in the other endeavors that we have or that we're trying to establish outside of dentistry. Okay. And I think that yeah, we got the gut, we have the emotion and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to what makes dollars and cents and what moves and when you take the emotion out of it. So I think with having a partner that has those skills, so if I'm an I type personality, I'm an influencer type of personality, having someone who looks at the detail of things and that is their strong suit. And their strong suit is also to be more direct, okay? That's their strong suit as well and more efficient and taking emotion out of things and looking at really black and white. I think that at, it's going to be hard for me to be all 4 personality types, talking about the disc profile,
Mhm.
rather than to have partnerships where they have certain strengths. So when it comes to the real estate part of things, like I'm not alone in it, in other words.
Okay. Well, has your
I think the
husband?
emotion, I think the emotion does play a part because, it can, those intuitive, feelings can have some weight, right? And there's the drive there to get the project done. But I definitely think that having my partner have opposite strengths of mine is going to be paramount in us being successful. So
What is
it's a
his
little different.
view on your decision to be a GP? Because I feel like one of the first things, whether or not my wife would listen to me or not, my advice would be, all right, you could probably make an extra 150,000 a year if you just hustled as a periodontist. So, babe, I need you to suck it up, and I need you to do what you trained 3 years to do. Just, it's playing devil's advocate. Because at some point, whether my wife said, okay, yeah, I hear you, but still no, free country.
But looking at the numbers, I have my numbers. I have my numbers. I have my tax returns.
Do you think that if you would go back and maybe took more classes on like business management and stuff like that, you would have still been a periodontist now? Learn to eliminate the emotion, learn to run a business. Do you think you still would be doing perio?
Mm-mm.
So you don't think anything would have actually convinced you to stay as a periodontist?
Mm-mm.
Okay. You kept bringing up ideas here and there about just like, the difficulty of women being a woman in dentistry. Can I ask you, if you can, to just enhance that? Do you think that being a woman in dentistry is actually the hardest part of dentistry now? Break that down. Because Dr. Horton and I can't
I can be, it is something like emotional, I guess, maybe, right? It's intangible. I don't know if I can put my finger on it. But when I listen to and I watch the interaction with a charismatic male that goes into the operatory, and I'm pretty charismatic. I try to like really feed into, my patients and their mood. And I know when I need to keep it short and sweet and, you know, but I just feel like they're able to gain that trust, even in staff. Like I feel like some staff members will like really stand behind a male dentist, um, and take a lot of crap, but with female docs, it's like this level of comfort where you kind of become girlfriends. And if you're not girlfriends, then, it's complex and it's on both sides. It comes with the team and the trust within your team. And if they believe in what you set forth. And then I feel like it's also another trust with patients. And so in the office where I work as a periodontist, I am the only woman out of 4 doctors. And in my current office, in my home office, I'm also the only woman out of, it's 5 of us. And so, yeah. And I asked the other doctors, I asked them, I was like, do y'all ever like get second guessed? And it's like a second guess type of thing, like, and it's just like my word. It's just word isn't bond. Like that's not enough.
It's a temperament thing, and I'll tell you this much: with all my associates, the number one comment I got from patients about the associates that were most popular, they were certain. There was no, well, we could do this. Oh, we could do that. Well, how do you feel? They were like, listen, I came because you're the expert. You tell me what I need. Say it like you know it's the best thing for me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it. And honestly, I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Why is Donald Trump as popular as he is? I mean, there's layers to that, but his like over bombastic confidence to walk in a room and be dead wrong, but convince everybody that he's right.
Yeah.
And I feel like the most successful doctors have this charisma where they walk in and there could be 5 options, but they already know what they want you to do. Right. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes being too agreeable,
yes.
can be a
Yes.
drawback when it comes to certain situations, whether it's business, patient relations, just, leading a team.
Mm-hmm.
People like to be led. They don't like to
Yeah.
admit it, but they like people to just make concise decisions. This is what we're doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I try to get, and so I asked some of my treatment coordinators because, when they come in, they're there. So they're seeing my whole spiel and my whole thing. And they were like, you said think like 3 times. I think that da 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 da. And I think it comes into being like, you don't want to be overbearing. You don't want to be this, don't want to be that. Good Lord, I feel like I'm tap dancing. And you have to give options legally. You have to give options. So I'm like,
To an extent.
how do I
Yeah.
give my options? But then I sound definite about that option number one. And they wanted someone who was going to be, they wanted something that was definite and straightforward.
Well, I think that the take home message from this was what we were hoping to get through, for me anyway, is whatever it is you feel you need to build around you so that you're happy in what you're doing as a profession. Because I could tell you all I want. My experience is X, Y, and Z is great. So anyone that, everyone is going to find a different fit. And I'm glad that you shared kind of some of that history as to what led you to this, because someone would listen to this and say like, okay, you went to Perio and you're doing GP. Why? How does it work? Now they have an insight, and it might make someone feel comfortable when they are, because when you choose a specialty, you don't really know that that's what you want to do for the next 50 years.
Mm-mm.
Right?
But I wouldn't trade it. The only thing that I would have traded for if I had to do it all over again, there's two routes. One route would have been AGD, right, for 2 years. The other option, see, given options. The other option is to find a program that was periopros. Okay. Mm-hmm. And because with that, I'm learning both sides of something that I'm passionate about. I try to tell this one dentist, not at my home office, at this other office I worked at. And I tried to tell him, like, I just look at things differently than you, like how I process the patient's health and their mental state and their anxiety level and their habits and everything about that patient, I process in a few seconds that let me know like what their treatment options should be. And you just gonna look at it different. So I try
Well,
not to do it in
let's wrap this up by asking you one last question. Okay. If you had to give advice to your younger self, what advice would you give that would maybe expedite a lot of the stuff you went through? What advice would you give to your younger self?
I would say, what do they want? They want to be a dentist?
Okay.
Oh,
that
you could say don't be a dentist. You can say don't be a dentist. You can say don't be a dentist. That's okay. What advice? No, I'm serious. What advice?
Okay, no, I would tell her because she's gonna want to do everything in the world, right? And I would say, okay, take things one step at a time. If this is what you're gonna focus on in dentistry, what you want to do, what do you want your day to look like every day? Go. Because by this time, hopefully you've been shadowing and you've been knowing and you have some mentors and tell me what aspects of the day you want it to be like. And depending upon that, I would give her guidance. Okay. So with me, when I was that young girl, I want to do lumineers, I want to do this, I want to do that. Then I would say, you know what? Let's start off with the AEGD program. I think that'd be a good way for you to go back, learn how to do more technical cases on patients that have more extensive health histories. And you'll learn a lot because you'll be sitting side by side with people in different residencies. From there, you can kind of figure out if you want to specialize in just one field or aspect, or if you want to take your AGD education and do continuing education outside of that in different fields to make you strong. I would tell them, if you know that you've been swooning, like I've been swooning and dreaming about houses and decor and all this other stuff for like since I was a teenager. So if there's any other aspiration, anything on the outside of that, I would give them the same advice that my grandfather mentor gave me, like dentistry with everything give you the means to make passive income elsewhere. And so as you're growing here, make sure that you are, maybe taking a business course, at night at a community college to learn more about accounting or whatever you aspire to do. But never stop learning. This is going to be something that's going to go on forever.
Okay.
And I will go from there and, choose some mentors that look like you, then also choose some mentors that don't look anything like you. And, get as much, just be a sponge, absorb as much as possible, and do what makes you feel fulfilled, not what the status quo is.
Okay. Well, we've covered a lot. I hope that, everybody learns something, right? And I honestly believe that it's never too late to pick what you like. You know what I mean? Dr. Horton, let's be honest. You were, you were doing dentistry, you had your practices and stuff, and you went back for perio. So you're a great example of it's never too late to do what you really want to do, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Great. You're doing the same thing. I truly believe that this was a great conversation. I think that we got a lot out of it. It was therapy session. You finished your wine. I saw that. It was good enough that.
And now it's like, now that you know more, it's like you can't unsee things, right, Dr.
No,
Norton? You
no,
can't unsee that. You
I
cannot unsee that shit. You're like, why did you show me that? Now I gotta talk to them about it. It's like, geez, but that knowledge is power.
It is.
And like what you did, you did a lot later than that, not a lot later, but you did it later than what I did. I did after 5 years, but you can't unsee things. Your knowledge is just top tier. You're going to know how to treat a person from A to Z and the why you're doing that. Like, it's so impactful. So even if it's drill and fill every day, like, it's just very, very impactful.
I've always said that I think every dental student, when they graduate, should do like an AGD or a GPA.
Absolutely.
At least 1 year of it, like medicine does. A lot of people will agree and don't agree. That's fine. But I do believe, being able to know yourself, because when you go straight into specialty, you really don't learn anything from a realistic outside world point of view. Because I actually had co-residents that never worked in private practice. Never worked outside. So their mindset was very rigid, very much of a academic mindset, right? And I mean, they're good. They're very good, but again, when you go outside, you realize, oh, this is different.
Oh, let me. Oh, since we got that, because maybe I can splice this into a clip. Because I have co-residents in that same exact boat.
Yeah.
Just graduated.
Right.
They hear all this stuff, and they think it's gospel, right? So, for instance, they might be having a conversation, huh?
From recruiters.
Yeah,
exactly.
At conventions. So, one of the questions I get a lot is, "Hey, I heard that you can graduate in first year out, you're making like 400 or 500K. That's pretty good, huh?" It's like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah. Tell me more.
Where is this place at? It's maybe some magical Texas where you work 4 days 4 days a week, and that's it.
Seriously. I mean, there's all these misconceptions that because they haven't worked, they haven't experienced the real world, whether it's business wise or even not necessarily owning a business, being an associate and seeing how the industry runs. What would both of you say to a fledgling graduate periodontist that has probably been sold a bill of goods from recruiters, has probably been sold a bill of goods from their academic faculty who've never really worked a day in their lives, have been in academia for 30 years. What would you say in a short, concise way? What is some advice that you would give to a young graduate?
And it doesn't have to be perio, by the way.
Perio.
Everybody's being everybody's being sold this gold, this magical land, by the way. Everybody from new graduates, from as a general dentist to perio, prosto, endo, everybody's being sold this gold, this magical land. So
right.
I would tell them to fly out and shadow offices in different regions that they're interested in, and just be a fly on the wall. And at the end of that day, ask very transparent and direct questions, because that's the only way that you're gonna know. You may go and visit a practice in Minnesota, and they have 5 patients, yet they're doing a day, and they have a hygiene program, yet their office is doing 2.5 million because they're out of network, because they have higher reimbursements in Minnesota, all these other things. So you can understand. I would never tell them that 500 isn't attainable, because it is, but you just have to be at the right region and the right practice with the right mentorship, and anything is possible. But you have to get out there and not go to one-on-one. I'm saying really shadow the hell out of that doctor. If you can stay a week or 3 days, just see how that practice runs, and see how it goes. And I think a lot of those questions will be answered.
Yeah.
Spend some time in the front office. Get to know the insurance lady who's doing the benefits. Hey, can I talk to you for a second? What's it really like in here? Tell me about the business side of things. And I think through those interactions, you'll get to know how doctors looking and feeling at the end of the day. Their schedule may fall apart. Are they pissed, or are they relieved that they already make their goal for the month? So I think until you're in there in the trenches and you get as close as you can to see and evaluate a practice, and it takes more than one day. It takes more than one day. Morning
Absolutely.
huddles. Is there a morning huddle? How's the chemistry going with the team? How's the culture? Because these people sell your cases. So if Tammy's in the back smoking cigarettes and pissed all damn day and cussing to herself, she's not selling your cases for you. She's not happy. So looking at everything, but the numbers are there. It's obtainable. It's just about being in the right place, in the right location as well.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, there's 2 things. One, not everybody needs to own their own dental practice. I say that.
There's more. Yeah.
I say that, and I'm speaking to everybody.
Yeah.
2, stop looking online for mentors. Everybody's going to sell you a bag of goods. Everybody's going to online. Everybody's living their best life. I'm an influencer, and look at me. I'm on this magical island, and I'm getting massages 24/7 and all this other BS. No, it really irritates me. Now you got me speaking. It irritates me because it's not reality.
Right.
They might have worked like 2 years just to afford those 2 days at a spa, and they're acting like this is their daily activity. The work, people don't see the work that goes into being successful. Why? Because they look at social media, which is a clip of a 30-second clip of something that may have taken 30 years. And it bothers me to think that this is what people see. The 30-second clip is what they think to be reality. And that bothers me. And it's this generation. You said you went to that influencer conference.
Loved it.
That would have never been the case 10 years ago. That wouldn't have been.
I don't know about that. Well, Tony Robbins,
Facebook,
all these people that have been selling, your Grant Cardones, all these people have been selling the
dream,
influence, and the dream for years.
But the dream is not
Tony
reality.
Robbins doesn't sell.
You know what actually caused a lot of issues in 2008, 2009? People thinking that they could afford more than they really could. The dream. Let me sell you the dream of ownership of a house when you make 5 cents every month. That's the
No. The 2008 wasn't ownership of the house. No, it was flipping houses.
No, and
no,
you basically
it was flipping houses. It was people buying stuff on adjustable arms,
right?
Being told that they would be able to refinance in 1 to 2 years,
and everything's going to go up,
and everything.
And everybody should own a house, and then you should own 2 houses. And what I'm saying to you is irresponsible. I don't care if it's like you said, Grant Cardone or whoever. They're selling you falsities. Not everybody can be an influencer. Not everybody can be. Just stick to the basics. Like you said, I know people that do basic dentistry and make a lot of money. But a lot of people want this. I want to do the full mouth rehab, and you can't even walk. but yet you want to run a marathon. It doesn't make sense. Focus on what you can do. Focus on what you like and do it. And if you don't like it, get out. There's so many other avenues you can do in dentistry. It's okay to say, this didn't work. Let me move on.
Right. And
But
the thing is, okay, I do believe
and we're gonna have
that
to wrap
there
it up because I
is,
think we're going into like 2 hours.
okay, sorry.
I'm
Coaching,
gonna have to
though.
definitely do like a part 1, part 2 for this, to be honest.
Yeah. And cut the part out where y'all attack me, all those, because both of y'all are sitting up here firing like a firing squad at the same time.
No,
Cut that
this is
part
a
out.
question. This
You
is a
say
question.
some controversial things. I
Oh,
think
she always does. But
set
go ahead,
yourself
please.
up a little bit.
Finish your statement. Finish your statement. This is all love. Finish your statement.
No, but I do believe in coaching. I do
Yes.
believe in investing in the right coach.
Right.
And
But
when
the
it's
coach is
within
not
your
gonna.
means.
But the coach is not gonna sell you a dream for no reason. They're gonna say these are
No,
how
a
to
coach
get
is
to
gonna
this
be
point.
real. A coach is
Yes,
gonna be real.
that's what I
And
mean. There's a
so,
difference.
and the thing is also depending on what you're taking away from it. You can't you gotta kind of look through all the bull crap. But one big thing that Grant Cardone preaches is 10x. Gotta go 10x, gotta go 10x,
Right.
gotta go 10x. And what 10x means
Yeah.
is straight up obsessing about that goal, obsessing about achieving it.
He also
Obsessing.
said that if you're not making $400,000 a year, that you're worthless in
You're
society.
worthless. That's it.
And so let's make sure we're putting these
And the
people in
average
the proper
person makes
perspective.
50,000.
Okay.
Okay. So again, we talked about this already. But anyway, let's wrap it up here.
You're gonna have that, but also I take away positivity, right?
That's
So if
okay.
I'm going to listen
And
and
you can
I'm
do
going
that.
to listen
Yeah.
to this, I'm going to take away positivity. And the one positive thing, especially when I get into my obsessive modes, it's like, okay, he understands because obsession equals manifestation, right? And so if you obsess and you go 10x and you live, eat, sleep, breathe, and pray for this stuff, all that stuff you're going to get it. You really are.
What about consistency? I feel like that's probably way more important. Consistency and also
if you consistent
not also
obsess.
consistency and also how about delayed gratification?
Right. Yeah.
We don't
If you
talk about
think
any
that
of
it's
that
going to
stuff.
happen, the real deal people out there that are online, and when you go to YouTube University, they do tell you like this is not, rich dad, poor dad. This is not something for you to get rich. This is something to obtain wealth, and this is, the strategy
Anyway.
and different things like that.
Well,
but
let's end it here. Let's end it here because you guys got me talking too much. I'm gonna say thank you as always. You have been incredibly entertaining.
Thanks,
we
guys.
would do definitely part 1, part 2. I don't think anybody wants to listen to 2 hours of us.
You don't. You can cut out a lot of it. Just go ahead and cut out the. Okay.
We like to be as natural as possible with this. Okay. This is not Real Housewives of Dentistry. This is exactly what you get. What you get. This is just what you get is what you get, good or bad. But
hey, can we all recognize how white Walt's teeth still are?
Oh my God.
Holy cow.
So I real quick before we go. So I basically wanted to know how it was to whiten teeth. So I actually got my teeth Zoom whitened. I'm never doing it again. 1 and 2. I realized that I'm never doing this again for any kind of podcast. I recorded everything. It's on the last episode. I think if anybody wants to listen.
Did you get a zinger?
It lasted like 2 hours.
The zingers?
Yeah, it just lasted like 2 hours. It was like one tooth, number 11. It just kept going. I was like, this is annoying. So that was it. You know what I mean? But in all honesty, never doing that again. I appreciate it. I think that there are for people, but we talked about this already. So I'm not going to rehash our last episode. You got to go listen to it. We want to make sure that people got as much out of all these as possible. And I don't think people talk about dentistry from this point of view. And we appreciate you sharing truthfully what you've gone through. Good or bad, you've gone through it and you were able to express to us exactly what you went through. And people, maybe there's somebody just like you that's going through something and go, okay, well, I can listen to her and fast forward to this part. Or say, hey, I'm not happy here, so let me just change. And that's okay. And I think that's what we need to get out of this.
You're not bonded. There's other things out there.
That's it. In the end, don't worry, be happy. I believe somebody very famous said that and very wise. I think it was a philosopher. I don't know who it was. It was a philosopher. Somebody philosophized that, right? Anyway, thank you guys. Appreciate you as always, man. All
All
right.
right.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.